I call your name and fear is gone, and only love remains when I just don't know what to do in this world to make it through. I call your name and carry on, and only love remains when the wherefores and the whys seem so hard to come by. I call your name to understand, and only love remains when no answers come around, only faith and trust resound. I call your name and carry on, and only love remains in this world of mysteries, fantasies and travesties, poverties and treasuries. Only your love sustains. Without it, there's just hopelessness, helplessness and foolishness, and only wisdom comes to those who give all in your name. Whatever path you put me on, please give me strength to carry on, and fill my heart at every step with devotion to your name. I don't have very much to give, but song and dance and daily bread. But all that you have given me, I offer in your name, and only love remains. Only love remains. Only love remains. Only love remains.
Good morning. Now, temple looks a little different this morning. We still have Mount Kailash up from Shivaratri last night. It's going to stay till tomorrow morning. Our topic today is every obstacle is an opportunity. Not can be, but is an opportunity. I've told many of you, I collect sayings every time I read anything, novel, newspaper, whatever. If it hits me, I'll collect it. But I went over them, and I was looking, and they almost all deal with the same topic. There is no problem without a solution. Experience is not what happens to you, it's how you deal with it. Every wall can be a door. Every setback, disaster, and obstacle is an opportunity to learn. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Argue for your limits, and they will be yours. Now, I looked at these, and they all have the same theme. We all run into obstacles and disasters and setbacks in our lives. But all these are warning signs. Slow down, stop. You're going to have to make a choice. And it is your choice. It's not something that anyone is doing to you or making happen. They're not even probably thinking about you. We've dealt with a lot of these obstacles in Montecito ever since the fire for 5 years. We can't go down a road without slow down, 1 lane ahead, detour. Yes, we're told what to do, but we choose to do it because we have a goal in mind. We want to get to a certain place. So we make the choice of how we're going to deal with these setbacks. And that's one of the first things we have to do in life, is decide, what do you want? What is your goal? And there's no wrong goal. There's just different ones. And you have to know yourself and know what your goal is. Now, most people who are seeking religion have a goal of either transcending this seeming reality or enriching their spiritual life, finding some kind of peace of mind or happiness. We all have something that we're seeking, because most people don't seek out philosophy or religion unless there is something that they don't feel right about in their life. So that's our first thing that we have to do when we have to define our goal. And as I say, there's no wrong goal. In Hinduism, there are 4 basic goals of life. There's artha, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Dharma is your right action, what you're meant to do in your life, where you are. It's like the Gita. Many of you are familiar with that, when Arjuna reaches the battlefield and he says, I won't fight. I can't fight. These are my friends, my family, I can't fight. And the Lord tells him, no, your dharma says you must. You can't not fight. This is your role in life. So it's harder in today's world to find our role in life, but I think when we sit down and actually analyze what our own personality, where we feel comfortable and happy and fulfilled, then that probably is your dharma. It may not be one of those things that has a great deal of adulation in today's society. It may seem like it's looked down in today's society, but if you do your own dharma well, you will more than likely be a happier person than someone who is trying to do something else just because they think they should. And that is the first part of what we have to do. We have to look at ourselves. I mean, if you're a good dishwasher, be a really good dishwasher and take pride in your work. If you're a mechanic, be a really good one. If you're a scholar, then really excel. But do the best that you can do in your own talent. And we do know that if we take time not to look at what society is telling us we should be doing, or what we feel we have to do to earn so much money that we then don't know what to do with it. But if we look at ourselves and we know, I know someone said, well, why did you join the convent? And I looked back on it, and I was not looking to join a convent, by the way. Really not looking for it. But when I came here, I went, well, this is what I have to do, or I won't be where I want to be when I leave. And I think we all know that. We want to be the best person we can be. So every obstacle that we reach in our lives, every obstacle, every little thing that comes up, we have to look at and analyze, what choice do I make to take me where I want to go? Which one do I want to choose? Now, the thing that inspired me to talk about this was I just watched Mission Joy on Netflix, which was Bishop Tutu and the Dalai Lama talking and just being happy together. And they set out, their premise was that everyone wants joy in their life. They think they're going to get it through various means. But when we define joy, it's not just happiness. It's not things that make you happy, events that make you happy, or people that make you happy. Joy wells up from inside yourself. And that's what we have to find. We have to find how to find that joy within our own being. And it doesn't have anything to do with what happens to you or what other people say or anything. As they pointed out in this film that I watched, both of these men have undergone severe trauma and severe disasters. The Dalai Lama lost his country. He fled for his life. And what does he say about it? I think it's good because I have had an opportunity to learn so many more things. And the world has learned so much about us. Bishop Tutu was down there in South Africa when they were having all of the problems. And how did he turn that around? He was part of the group that did the reconciliation. So we all have these choices. And of course, there's extreme examples. So bad that you don't even want to think about it. People who have been tortured, people who have been in concentration camps. And they find a certain way to deal with this within themselves. I remember when I was, a billion years ago when I was in college, I read Viktor Frankl's book. And I thought, now that's inspiring. It's not just horrors. So how do we do this? How do we find this joy inside ourselves? Well, the first thing is discrimination. And this is what all the religions tell us about. Discriminate with what you see, how you feel, and look at your mind and say, who is in charge of this? And will this take me to my goal? Once you have defined your goal. Mine was realizing God, seeing God. And I figured I couldn't do it if I stayed out there. Out there. There is right here. Which I have found very much. Okay, so you look at it and you say, I can't. I can't means you are limiting yourself. You are limiting your supreme being that's inside you. I won't is a choice you make with discrimination. Now, don't sell yourself short. You can do anything you set your mind to. All of us can. We can do anything and we can accomplish anything. We just have to know where we're going. I remember once one of our nuns said to someone who was saying something to her, and she said, well, if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there. And I thought, no, it's true. It's really, really true. Now, the other thing when we do this, when we make these choices, and if we choose to find the joy within us, then we look for the good and the positive. We don't spend all of our time concentrating on the horrible things that are going on in the world, the horrible things that we really can't do anything about. We look at our own daily life and say, what's positive about this? I mean, how can someone who is chased out of their country turn it around and say this is a good thing? This benefits us all. And I mean, of course, he's the Dalai Lama. And that's what we say. Of course, he's the Dalai Lama. But no, as he says, he's an ordinary monk. It's years and years of practice of training your mind to do this. And I just found Viktor Frankl's quote, which I like. Our perspective towards life is our final freedom. Because if we believe in karma, if we believe in samskaras, we have made our own life. We are responsible for where we are right now. And if you can make that, you can change it through choices. Now, Bishop Tutu and the Dalai Lama set up the 8 pillars of joy. And 4 of them are of the mind, how to train the mind. One of them is perspective, like Viktor Frankl said. You look at something, and is it about you or is it just an event? Do we personalize things and take them in and say it's about me? Well, I'm going to read you one other thing. This is the Dalai Lama. Thinking me automatically brings fear, a sense of insecurity, and distrust. That kind of person will never be a happy person. At the end of that person's life, their neighbor will be happy that person's gone. But, I mean, think about it. A person who never thinks about anyone else, they only think about themselves and what's happening to me. That's not a happy person. You can't be. Because human beings are hardwired to be part of a group, like most other animals. That was an interesting scientific thing that I was reading too. They said that almost every species that they encountered, elephants, dolphins, dogs, cats, that they had rats, even rats, all had empathy and compassion for their kind. Now, I mean, there's lots more things happening now where they cross over species. But guess which one didn't? A cat. Now, how many of you have cats? And you know, they don't care. But, and we're talking about, so that is our perspective in life. Now, Abraham Lincoln had another famous, well, I think it's a famous saying. He said, we're all just about as happy as we want to be. Now, I've thought about that a lot. Oftentimes, when everything is going well, we have this little nagging thing like, what? When's the hammer going to drop? And so we make it drop. We do it to ourselves. As the Hindu scriptures say, your mind is your best friend and your mind is your worst enemy. You have to take a hold of that mind and direct it, because it has come into the world with some predispositions, but also attached to the senses, which are totally outgoing. And if you can't control the mind, it's just scattered all over the place like mercury. Are any of you old enough to? We used to break those thermometers and try and squish the mercury all back together. Herding cats is the other one. Impossible. But that's what the mind is like without discrimination and training. because it's geared to go out. Oh, look, there's a bird singing out there. Oh, did you just see what happened over there? I mean, we do it all the time. This is the nature of the mind without control. So we have to, that's one of our first things, to change our perspective by consciously looking at things and deciding how we will, whether we will see the good or whether we will see the disaster. And that is a choice. I mean, yeah. The second pillar of the mind is humility. Now, what is most of our, often people think humility is being timid, not being able to stand up for yourself. Oh, I'm so humble. But real humility knows its own worth, is happy about that. You know what you can do well, but you're not proud of it. You don't take, it's a blessing that you know what you can do well. It's not something like, oh, I can do this. This is not my thing, talking. But you have to do what you have to do. And that's not being humble. That's being realistic, okay? The other thing they say is the thing you have to cultivate in yourself in order to find this joy inside is humor. And they said, you don't have to be born a comedian. You don't have to be born knowing how to tell jokes. And as I read this, I thought, that's true. We had a Swami in New York, Swami Nikhilananda, who always told jokes at his lecture. Always. And oftentimes they were out of the Reader's Digest. But he took such joy in telling them, and he'd laugh at his own jokes. Swami Prabhavananda, who founded this society, couldn't tell a joke to save his life. He tried, but he always gave the punchline, and then he'd go back to the story. And he was just fine with it, and we'd all go, no, don't do that, Swami, don't do that. And the biggest humor, the greatest aspect of humor that you can develop is the ability to laugh at yourself. To look at yourself and go, did I really do that? But to open up enough to people to let them laugh at you too, with you. Not at you, but with you. That kind of humor can go a long way in bringing you a certain peace of mind. Because you're not fearing anything. You're not afraid of anything. You recognize your own foibles. They're there. We're humans. That's it. The fourth pillar for the mind, training the mind, is acceptance. Now, acceptance does not mean that you don't see. Acceptance means that you see the good and the bad, but you realize that's what it is. This is the reality of our life in this world. We can't change everything. Yeah, but we can accept the fact that there is good and bad. And there always will be. Because that's part of the pairs of opposites that make the world. It's just a fact of life. What we choose to focus on is our choice. And that's where we have the power to find the joy within ourselves. When we find the joy within ourselves, usually it's kind of infectious. because people tend to gravitate towards people who are joyful. The other 4 pillars of joy are attitudes of the heart. Now, Swami Sarvadevananda, he always says, and you must think. And he always puts his hand on his heart. And I said, Swami, why do you put it on your heart? And he says, well, that's where we really think. We say we think in our heads, but where we really do it, it's our feeling in our heart. And I kind of agree with that, because I know that you can study things till you're blue in the face. You can read every single scripture, you can read every single book, every self-help book, and until it touches your heart, it's not going to make any change in your life. We have to be touched deeply to decide to make that change. So there are 4 pillars of the heart are forgiveness. And forgiveness, well, as I say, Bishop Tutu was part of the reconciliation movement down in South Africa, where they brought the perpetrators of the tortures and the victims' families together, and they had a chance to see each other as a human being. Some forgave, some didn't. It's not going to be perfect. But the ones that forgave the perpetrators freed themselves. They didn't do that much for the perpetrator, but they freed the anger in their own hearts. And that's, I think, the value of the forgiveness that they're talking about. If you can't forgive yourself for your mistakes, if you can't forgive what you think someone has done to you, then who does it actually harm? You're the one that's thinking about it all the time. Whoever, whatever you think was done to you, they don't even know you're thinking about them. And they're not thinking about you. So you're really just making your own life and your own self miserable by digging that little groove deeper and deeper. The next one was gratitude. Now, we hear this all the time, an attitude of gratitude. And what do we make of that? It becomes, when we make it into those little cliche sayings, we tend to trivialize them. So, but being grateful for what we have, being grateful for just being grateful for everything that we do have. And you can practice this by walking down any street and seeing the people who don't have what we have. And we have, anywhere in the world, we have food, we have shelter, we have clothing, we have clean water to drink. Sometimes it tastes funny, but it's clean, it's safe. 2/3 of the world doesn't have that. We have so much to be grateful for every day of our lives. So much. But we have to recognize what we have in order to have the feeling of gratitude in our heart. You look at, I say, you look at Santa Barbara, and every day I get up and I go, I'm so glad I live here and not somewhere else. And it's not that it's easy to live here. I remember reading an article in the Independent how some people had to work 3 and 4 jobs in order to be able to live here. But it's because they loved it and they knew what was here. And they felt grateful that they were able to do that. Now, all the time during the pandemic, everyone was talking about how they had to be indoors in their apartment in New York and they couldn't go out and they're totally isolated. That didn't happen here. We had superb weather. We could be outside 75% of the time. You could keep distances. Yes, we had to close the temple. Yes, we had to close the bookstore because the county said, but we didn't. It wasn't like we were isolated. We had so much, with just our physical being in Santa Barbara, we had so much more than so much of the country had. I mean, can you imagine being inside a 400 square foot apartment for 2 years? Well, we go outside, we can garden, we can take a run, we can, go to the beach. We were very fortunate. And to practice that gratitude, to know what we have, and to acknowledge it to ourselves, also makes your life much more pleasant for yourself. Okay, the third pillar of the heart is compassion. Now, in Vedanta, they said compassion. Who can be compassionate? Because, the Lord has put us all here. However, we do have a definition of compassion. And often we confuse it with empathy. We empathize with someone. Empathy is feeling someone, walk 1 mile in their moccasins and you'll feel they're feeling. Okay. Compassion says, yes, it's difficult. We all have our born and raised a Christian, right? Our crosses to bear or our difficulties. But compassion says, is there anything to help this person see what their life is, what they're doing with their life? Is there anything? When I think of what happened after the mud flow here, and all of a sudden the neighbors got this bucket brigade going. This was not an organized thing. It wasn't something the county set up. It was one person deciding he should help his neighbor. That's one of the good things about disasters that I have seen. After 9/11, everyone, all of a sudden, they were very, very outgoing to everyone. Let's hang together. We're humans together. After the fire and the mudslides here, everyone was thinking about their neighbors more than themselves. They stopped thinking about their isolated little life. They went, what can I do to help? This person's lost everything. What can we do? And they were happier. Now, we all go back to our usual thing when everything gets back to normal. Suddenly we have to be taking care of ourselves and our own stuff. And I'll just put it down as stuff. So, if we practice, do you remember them? I don't. Okay. Perspective. Going to change our perspective in life, right? Humility. Not going around saying I'm the best. But knowing what you're good at and not being ashamed of it. Do it. Humor. Not laughing at someone, but laughing with them and laughing at yourself. And when we laugh at ourselves, it's just the silly things we do because we are human beings. It's not like we're bad. Everyone is basically born, I think, basically wanting this. They want joy, they want peace, they want to be a good person. They all go about it in different ways. Okay, acceptance of what is. It's not saying, I can't do anything, this is going to be forever. It's just saying, this is what happened today. Forgiveness. That one's a difficult one for a lot of people in the West, I think. They have a very big problem forgiving themselves. They carry a lot of guilt. It's not such a huge problem in in Hinduism, because children are taught from the time they're born that you are a manifestation of the divinity. This is your role in life. You don't have anything to be guilty about. But we suffer from the concept of original sin. We're born bad. We aren't. That's, in the difference between the Eastern belief and the Christian belief of being born into original sin is the Eastern religion says, no, you are the product of your past actions. It is not something that is applied to you at birth indiscriminately. You are the architect of your life. And because you are the architect of your life, it means you can change it. You can remodel from the inside. Okay, then compassion. Being kind to people. Being kind to those that you would not necessarily, I'll put it, looking at all people, everyone that you see as a manifestation of God. Jesus said it, as you serve the least of my brethren, you serve me. Ramakrishna says it over and over again. He talks about seeing God within everyone, seeing the God within them, not the outside package, not their little habits that they have accumulated through life, but seeing the heart of the person, seeing the good divine heart of each person. And then the last one is generosity. And I think I'd like to start by reading what Bishop Tutu had to say about generosity. He's speaking, of course, from the Christian standpoint. He's the Archbishop of the Anglican Church in South Africa. Our book says that it is in giving that we receive. So I would hope that people would recognize in themselves that it is when we are closed in on ourselves that we tend to be miserable. You have to look at I've sometimes joked and said God doesn't know much math, because when you give to others, it should be that you are subtracting from yourself. But in this incredible kind of way, you give. And it then seems like, in fact, you are making space for more to be given to you. Physical examples. This is scientific research that the Dalai Lama is encouraging. He started doing this quite a while back when he wanted to, people were studying deviant minds, the minds of serial killers, the minds of people who were awful. And he said, why are you doing that? Why do you only study the exception rather than the majority who have good minds and they're stable people? So they've started studying wiring up all the monks and finding out how their brains worked. And this is one of the studies. But this is by two scientists, McClelland and Krishnit. They found in thinking about generosity, just thinking about it, significantly increased protective antibody salivary immunoglobulin A. Okay, that was a huge mouthful for me because I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's the protein used by the immune system. So just thinking about it improves your health. And scientific studies have shown that. Thinking about someone else, thinking about generosity, thinking about doing things for other people, not even doing it. So can you imagine what doing it would help, how it would help you? You could transform your life. Okay. And I'm going to end with 3 quotes. One was Martin Luther King. We must learn to live together as sisters and brothers, or we'll perish together as fools. And then Bishop Tutu. Start where you are and realize that you're not meant on your own to resolve all these massive problems in the world. Do what you can, and you'll be surprised, actually, how it can get to be catching. Remember, you're not alone, and you do not have to finish the work. It takes time, but we're learning, we're growing, and we're becoming the people we want to be. It helps no one if you sacrifice your own joy because they are suffering. We people who care most must be attractive, must be filled with joy, so that others recognize that caring, that helping, and being generous are not a burden. They are a joy. Give the world your love, your service, your healing, but you can also give it your joy. This, too, is a great gift. Okay, now we'll stop there.
I'm thankful for the mountains. I'm thankful for the sky. I'm thankful for the songs of birds. And I love to watch them fly. I'm thankful for my family. I'm always for my friends. And for all of life's miracles. Thankful once again. Love is the happiness and helps me as I go through the ups and downs of life. It helps my heart to grow. For love, I'm always thankful. The sweetest miracle I know. For love, I am always thankful. The sweetest miracle I know.
I have some announcements to make. We've got Tuesday, this coming Tuesday is Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, and we'll be celebrating it here in the temple. The puja will start at 11 a.m. The Homa fire will start at 12:45, and there'll be prasad lunch at 1:30. You're all invited to come. It'll probably be on Zoom or at least YouTube, so you can watch it if you don't want to be here. Then Wednesday the 22nd at 5 p.m., we will be reading not Swami Subodhananda anymore, but a book, How a Shepherd Boy Became a Saint, The Life and Teachings of Swami Adbhutananda. And we'll read that at 5 here in the temple. You're also invited. Then Saturday the 25th, we're having a Karma Yoga Day. And that means you can all come and do work. And you can have some lunch after it. We'll start about 9 o'clock, and you meet down at the convent. We'll have a few different jobs, and then join us for lunch. Sunday the 16th, Sunday the 16th? That's the wrong date. Anyway, the next Sunday, Swami Vedarupananda will give the talk, The Knife, Fork, and Spoon of Karma Yoga. So you can come and do a Karma Yoga Day and then hear what you did. And we'll end with a chant. Filled with Brahman are the things we see. Filled with Brahman are the things we see not. From out of Brahman cometh all. Yet Brahman remains the same. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all.